It was 15 years ago when my family and I arrived to Westport's cozy Tokay Hall. I had previously visited 3 traditional style boarding schools, and at that point I was convinced that my next 4 years would be aligned with that experience of a typical boarding school. We were greeted by dedicated volunteers and the freshly assembled ABC board. The House of North Avenue was still under construction. No resident directors were hired yet. The boarding public model was a bit complicated to grasp, and the program was missing the most important element of all, its first set of scholars. A hard sell was truly an understatement. It was the beginning, and though there were missing parts, there was a bona fide clear vision set forth by the ABC board led by David Driscoll. A vision to give striving students resources we may not have had access to in order to prosper and continue dreaming big. Dave had and still has a stoic warmth and an approachability to him that made my family and myself comfortable with envisioning a fully functioning ABC of Westport. Needless to say, we were sold. While president, Dave provided us with a level of autonomy in order for us to get adjusted with Westport as 14 and 15-year-olds. We thank David for his outstanding visionary leadership and warm candor as a better chance of Westport's first president. Thank you, David.
Where's Steve Daniels? What are you saying, Steve? There we go. So I have a funny story, or 2 funny stories. I first met Steve in 2005, and I was with a few interviewees in Westport, eating pizza at Steve's house. And I'm from Brooklyn. So in Brooklyn, we have a very specific style of eating pizza. We call it the fold, right? You take these 3 fingers and everyone hold it 3 fingers up like this. Right? So here I am, this 13-year-old kid, folding a pizza, about to indulge, and I look to my right and I see Steve with a fork and knife. Fork and knife, right? And I'm like, I get my fork and knife out too. I'm like, this guy is fancy, right? Fancy. And the funny thing is, weeks later, I went back home and tried to do the same thing, and I was clowned by my friends. They were like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm fancy, like Steve Daniels. Fancy. Yeah? Another story. How many Shamir Savion Summer Institute? Remember that? So for the scholars in here who don't know what Summer Institute was, they basically took 3 weeks from your summer, and you literally had to take an ELA course. Now, I dreaded going, right, at first. And I remember, Steve, you called my dad, and I quote, the Summer Institute program would be advantageous for Charles's schooling. I didn't know what that word was. I'll be honest with you at that time. But 2 things happened. From that moment that Steve called my dad to convince him and reassure him that Summer Institute would be great, so when Summer Institute ended, here's the 2 things. Steve taught me my first SAT word, and I still use that to this day. Thank you, Steve. Advantageous. And I was definitely prepared for my 9th grade ELA course. So, Steve, we all look up to you because you're kind, selfless, very intimidating when we were younger because you were straightforward, but we appreciated that. Steve, you made time for us even in your busy schedule, and we appreciate all you've done. Having you as the president was advantageous to a Better Chance Westport program, and we thank you.
How's everyone doing tonight? My name is Savion Agard, graduated from Staples in 2007 and graduated from Cornell in 2011. So, as I'm sure many of you know, the board members donate their time and energy out of the goodness of their heart. And both Harold and Peggy Kamens are great examples of this. Both served on the board for many years. While they both served multiple roles with ABC, Harold has a different perspective, and I don't mean as president. He was also our tutor. And more specifically, he had to deal with me as my math tutor. So, and as I have written down, I can promise you it is the most difficult thing he had to do as, not even as an ABC president. Now, whether it was algebra, geometry, I don't remember. All I know is I had to solve for X and I had a hard time doing so. He would repeat to me this mantra. Now, I'm not gonna share with you how long he had to repeat it over and over and over. But if you've ever had a hard-headed teenager live in your house, I'll let your imagination, do the work. The advice was simple. It came in 2 parts, 6 words total. Write it down. Check your work. Mind blown. He repeated this to me over, and over again. It took a really long time. But my takeaway from that experience was Harold wasn't only wise, but a man of great patience. To Harold and all the presidents who've donated their time, energy, and wisdom, we definitely thank you. It's not always easy to deal with hard-headed teenagers that you have to repeat something over and over and over and over again. I think you guys get the point. But we also thank you for your continued love, support, and guidance, and that's why we as alumni keep on coming back. So thank you so much. This is also your time to speak, Harold, so come on up.
I didn't know that. Thank you, Savion. And on behalf of all the former presidents, thanks to ABC for recognizing us tonight. It truly is an honor, and we're honored to be a part of this organization. And thanks also to all the alums that showed up tonight. It's great to see all of you, and you're the living testament to all the good that this program is doing. And when we started, we were happy when they passed English, or in Savion's case, algebra, freshman year. But now to see where you've gone in your lives with your careers and your personal life, Charles just celebrated a couple of days ago his first wedding anniversary. So, Charles, you told me when we were talking before in the cocktail hour that this was the first time you've emceed, and you probably don't realize that it's a tradition to poke some fun at the MC. So I'm going to tell you a story. It has nothing to do with school, but one year, I think it was Dwayne Bollard and I took a bunch of the ABC guys for the Bloomin' Metric bike ride. And it was, I forget, we were going to take them 20 or 25 miles, the short version of the ride. And we were all moving along, and we got to a point where there was a turnoff, and if you went to the right, you could go 46 miles, if I remember correctly. And I said to the group there, anybody want to do the longer route? You can come with me, we'll do a little bit more. And everybody looked at me like I was crazy, except for the guy sitting right here. And do you remember this?
Yes, I regretted it.
So when it turned, it not only was longer, but it went up into the hills in Fairfield, up to Greenfield Hill. And this guy was struggling. He was a high school athlete, he was a hot shot on the volleyball team and all that, but this was the first time he rode a bicycle in years, maybe. And but we went on our way, and he's struggling up the hill, He makes it up that hill. We go a little further. We stop at the rest stops. He's sucking down all the liquid he can get. It was a hot day, and we're moving along, and then his legs start cramping up. And he can hardly push the pedals, but this guy isn't going to give up. And we get maybe 5 miles from the end, and I turn to him and I say, you know, yeah, I could like keep going and then come back with the car and pick you up. And he gave me a look I'll never forget, because I wasn't going to say another word to this guy about not finishing this ride. And then we get within about a mile of the finish, and these people passed us up, and you know, I don't want to be cruel to them, but people that look like that shouldn't have been passing us on bikes. And this guy, he could hardly turn the pedals at that point, but we did make it to the end, and he survived the experience. And you know, as Charles put it so eloquently before, about opportunity and potential, you know, this guy proved to me on that day that if we provided him the opportunity, he would run through as many walls as he had to realize his potential. And I think that's the thing you can say about all the scholars in our program, really, is that these guys, all we can do is provide opportunity, but we start with great raw material, and these guys have really accomplished amazing things in their lives. And here's to you guys. In my time as president, I learned two very important things, probably more than two, but two that I'll tell you about. One, and this seems to be a theme tonight, is always root against Duke in the NCAA tournament. Because there's a big overlap between Duke fans and ABC supporters. Big overlap. Every year for this event, I would have these rabid Duke fans who would be sitting there on their phones looking at the scores and things like that, because the event always occurs during the tournament. They'd be complaining that they couldn't be home watching their precious Duke team. And even one guy who shall go nameless, Alan Abramson, suggested that we move the date of the event. So even though I have nothing, I'm not president anymore, I'm not even here for the event a lot of times, every year I find myself rooting against Duke. So lesson number one. Lesson number two, and more important to tonight, is nobody really wants to listen to me. You want to listen to these guys. So I'm just going to say a few things and then get out of your way. You know, when all of us former presidents at one time or another had people say to us, "Wait, let me understand this. You know what it's like to deal with teenagers, and you're taking responsibility for a house full of them? Are you completely out of your mind?" And actually, I think we would be completely out of our mind if we were really doing that as president. But the fact is that this program is the greatest example of teamwork in the town of Westport. The people involved, the list just goes on and on. And I saw that, you know, it's in your program tonight if you're drinking and not listening to me. But the list, start with the resident directors. What these guys do for our scholars is just phenomenal. You have the tutors, who now we have professionals, which is why they're doing so much better when they had amateurs like me trying to teach people like Savion algebra. The host families do amazing things, and I think the scholars do amazing things for the host families as well. You know, we have a working board. Everybody on the board has a job and is expected to really contribute a lot. It's not just an advisory board. The volunteers, drivers and everybody else that volunteers all their time for this. Organizations in town, like the YMCA every year contributes memberships to all the scholars that want to go to the Y. Professionals in town donating their time. Businesses, Fredegman and Billings, Kim and Trey, where are you guys? Without you guys, our alums wouldn't be where they are right now. You deserve a lot of credit. And also everybody that's sitting here, really the support of the town over time is just phenomenal. So thanks to everyone. Thanks on behalf of all the former ABC presidents.
noches, damas y caballeros. Good evening, everyone. How are you? My name is Christopher Morales. I graduated from Staples just last year, 2016. I was the MC last year, so I'm a little upset that I'm not this year's, but they gave me some speaking time. I am a first-year student at Ithaca College. I'm a television radio major. I'm also a French minor, so trilingual, guys. So when I first met Eric Seidman, we were two different people. I was a prospective candidate, and he was the president-elect. Now I'm an alum, and he is a former president. It was and still is very competitive to join the ABC Westport program. The only way to secure my spot was by taking his overcoat to California and then bringing it back as the newest scholar. But now in the program, I was part of the routines, rituals, and regulations. So every quarter when grades were released, there was a meeting with the president and other board members. They wanted to sort of check in. They called this a friendly checkup meeting. The scholars, we called it Judgment Day. So there were a total of 12 of these meetings, and Eric always started with the same questions. He said, "So, Christopher, how are you adjusting to Westport?" You would think by senior year he would stop asking. So, freshman year, my response was along the lines of, "School is fine, still trying to make friends." My sophomore year through junior year, my response was along the lines of, "School is great, friends are great, clubs are great, everything's great." But what did that question mean to me my senior year? There was no right answer to that question. And if you track every answer I gave, Eric Seidman was getting me to think critically about the world. Yes, there is a Westport bubble, but I did not come from it. I had to learn how to adapt to it. And that question that he kept asking, that was just a reminder that I cannot settle. I have to learn how can I adapt to the culture that has been so welcoming of me. What can I learn from them, and what can they learn from me? So Eric was in charge of observing my every movement at the most crucial time of my life, relatively speaking, as an 18-year-old. So Eric Seidman, for myself and on behalf of the ABC Westport program, thank you so much.
I didn't introduce myself last time, but my name is Shamir Clayton, 2006 graduate of Staples, 2010 graduate of Emory University. Okay. Since the beginning of ABC of Westport, Gail and Lee were dedicated to the program through numerous roles. While in the program, what mattered to us scholars was their genuine love, authenticity, and support. Whenever interacting with Gail or Lee, we knew that we were in for a positive and humorous conversation no matter what the topic was. I'm lucky to have an incredible bond with Gail and the Cohen family, Eric, Haley, and Zach, as my extended family. 2 years into the program, my original host family moved to Dallas, Texas, and the Cohen family welcomed me into their home. Gail's consistent, pleasant, positive, and lightened demeanor was something I look forward to every Sunday. Her heart is big enough for two, and her ongoing support to causes she believes in is genuine and done with grace and humility. Lee Bollard has a smile that can light up a room. Her bubbly momentum is contagious and has a care that keeps going. Her and the Bollard family happily open their doors as a host family while also carrying the load as co-ABC president. We're glad she continues to contribute her amazing qualities to this program, and all of us scholars truly appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause. Gail Cohen and Lee Baller, past ABC principals.
Hi, everybody. I want to thank everyone at ABC for honoring all the past presidents tonight. And I want to thank everybody for coming tonight and supporting ABC. I also want to thank whomever decided that I should speak after Harold, because I'm hoping that by now you're all tired enough to think that I have something wise and insightful to say. We have all heard that Westport is a bubble. It's something that as a community we talk about from time to time and joke about on occasion. And while I'm not entirely sure how you feel about the bubble, whether you view it as a positive or negative thing, tonight, in this particularly uncertain time, I can tell you about what makes me certain. What makes me certain is that bringing a Better Chance program to Westport has made Westport a better community. What makes me certain is that when you help deserving students succeed, you succeed. What makes me certain is that the hard work, efforts, and generosity of everyone here has helped create a wonderful ABC family. What makes me certain is that while success alone is gratifying, success through teamwork is absolutely empowering. What makes me certain is that together we can minimize obstacles and help one another overcome any challenges. What makes me certain is that the ABC program is blessed to have some of the most wonderful young men now call Westport home. And what makes me certain is that in supporting ABC tonight, you are giving to a great cause, and you are inevitably getting back more than you give. In short, I am certain that if we give people a better chance to learn and succeed, our world really can be changed one person at a time. And it's unclear who benefits more, whether it's Westport or the scholars. We talk about the bubble in the context of Westport's seclusion from the outside world. But if we continue to expand our sphere of influence and continue to bring in more education and diversity, we just might make this bubble big enough to float away and encompass someone else's corner of the sky. So thank you, and thank you for supporting me.